Good morning. I'm John Ellsworth, founder of Success Strategies Incorporated and the creator of the Success Strategies Advantage. And I want to welcome you to today's presentation, which I've entitled, What If We Changed Our Approach? Recently, I was reading an article by an author named Charles Hugh Smith, and he talked about what he calls the 5 themes that will decide this decade. And I thought, 5 themes that will decide this decade. They were a little bit scary to read, to be perfectly honest with you, and I hope he's wrong about at least some of these. But here are the 5 themes, and then I'm going to present each of them, a solution for each of them. Theme number 1 was called sclerosis, and he described this as kind of a power grab by few. We see that sort of on the political front somewhat today in the U.S., and that is kind of scary, but sclerosis is a power grab, as he described it, by very few at the top. Number 2 he talks about is dysfunction. That's the situation where nothing works, and even worse yet, there's no self-correcting solution. There doesn't appear to be a solution that just appears, at least not out of nowhere anyway, but I have a solution for you. Theme number 3, he talks about debt saturation. Where you continue to borrow and you throw money at a problem, and you know what? It still doesn't work. Have you mailed anything lately? You may be able to relate to this because I have. It's been a challenge. Number 4 on the themes that he talks about, that Charles Smith talks about, power asymmetry. And that's where you and I feel like we have very little control over anything. Power asymmetry just makes us feel sort of helpless. And point number 5 that he points out is that nobody trusts anybody. This is probably more true since COVID-19, and maybe part of it is just due to the way we handled it. But I'm not a medical expert, so I won't comment beyond that. But he talks about a situation where nobody trusts anybody. And the real problem with that is, as he describes it, is when people don't trust each other, we tend to get in a situation of stagnation, or what we're facing today in the U.S. called stagflation, a combination of stagnation and inflation, high rising costs. And that's tough for you in your industry. It's tough for all of us in our households too. So here are my responses, 1 through 5. On the sclerosis, where there's a power grab by few, I'd suggest that we do this. Let's be more entrepreneurial. We can gain greater control over things, and I can tell you that I know firsthand, because I feel like I have a lot better control over my life situation, my business situation, than I ever did working for banks. And I'm not putting the banks down, I'm just making an observation. Dysfunction, number 2, when your future depends on making things happen, making things work, not just increasing taxes on other people, being entrepreneurial, if you will, that makes it much more functional and much better for us to use in society today. As far as debt saturation, number 3 that Charles Smith talks about, I'm just going to say one thing. Let's borrow less. That's how you and I make our home budgets work, and by golly, it works pretty darn good. It works just fine, and maybe our government needs to start doing the same thing. Power asymmetry, where you have little control over anything, or you feel like you do anyway. Again, I'm going to point out, be entrepreneurial. Most of our listeners, hopefully you included, are entrepreneurs in some sort of business or another. And I've found that I have much more control over my financial future, my happiness, if you will, by running my own business, as opposed to, again, working for banks as I did previously. So, and on the trust issue where he said nobody trusts anybody, I think we have a solution here. My business coach, Dan Sullivan of the Strategic Coach Organization, has some great advice for us, and I think we should follow it. He refers to these as the referability habits. And think about someone who does these versus someone who doesn't. Who will you have the greater trust in? His referability habits are as follows. There are 4 of them. Number 1, show up on time. Number 2, do what you say you're going to do. Number 3, finish what you start. And number 4, always say please and thank you. So again, I will give you a quick synopsis of that. Show up on time, do what you say you're going to do, finish what you start, and always say please and thank you. Are these common sense approaches? Yes, I think you'll agree that they are. Are they common practice? Not necessarily. Even among entrepreneurs, they are lacking sometimes. But I think they present an excellent approach to the problems that Charles Smith describes in his article. I want to thank you for listening today. I'm John Ellsworth, founder of Success Strategies Incorporated and the creator of the Success Strategies Advantage. Thank you very much.